Thank you, Rory, and good afternoon, everyone. I can't believe it's been a year already, and I wanted to again thank you all for taking time out of your busy days and your busy weeks to be with us in person. We are also joined by a number of our members and guests from varying parts of the globe who are watching us virtually. To everyone joining us today, whether you're seated with us in person or watching online, we're pleased to have you. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Patricia Porco, or Trish, and I'm currently serving as the president of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of your chamber, I'm pleased to welcome everyone to today's 133rd annual general meeting. To begin, I would like to acknowledge and recognize that we are here as a community and as a chamber holding this meeting on the traditional, territorial, and ancestral lands of the Ojibwe people from the Garden River and Batchewana First Nations, as well as the Métis people. The Ojibwe people are one of the three nations that belong to the historic Three Fires of Confederacy, the traditional government of the Anishinaabe Nation. The other two nations are the Odawa and the Potawatomi. The site where, thank you, Karen. The site where we are close to is where the Robertson-Hury Treaty was negotiated and entered into the 1850 between the principal leaders of the Ojibwe Nation and the British Crown. The principal negotiator of these treaties was Chief Shinwak from Garden River. To the Anishinaabe people, the sacred and spiritual place has been known since the immemorial as Boating. We wish to honor the original people of this part of Turtle Island as we recognize their homelands in the spirit of partnership and reconciliation. As we come together today, let's take a moment to acknowledge the significance of the special day occurring tomorrow, September 30th, Canada's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On Canada's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we recognize and commemorate the history and ongoing legacy of residential schools and the trauma experienced by so many. We commit to listening, learning, and reflecting. We also join our brothers and sisters in recognition of all the children lost through residential school system. It is time for us to rethink the nation we want to become as we are confronted with the hard truths about our history. As Canadians, we cannot turn a blind eye to the history of this country, and we must commit to ensuring that this is just not the way things should be, nor how people should be treated anymore. We know that the unmarked graves will be recovered as the push to search for them continues. As a formal residential school community, we must come together so we always understand the sentiments and principles of truth and reconciliation. We encourage our business community to commit to the Truth and Reconciliation Call to Action 92 and to be an ally for our Indigenous brothers and sisters. Should you wish to have more information on Call to Action 92, please reach out to Rory Ring, our CEO of the Chamber. As we honor the memory of our children and many who did not come home, those who have lived as survivors and their families, let's take a moment of silence in honor of their memory. Thank you. I would like to take the opportunity as well this afternoon to introduce some of our current board members that are present here today. We currently have Karen Bird, Derek Jackson, Lori Naccarato, Jason Naccarato, Salvatore Marchese, Sherry Burlinghoff, Marcus Wilson, Jennifer Rushton, Ian Grant, John Offendani, Randy Shurin. And maybe Michael Stone. I would also like to recognize our past presidents with us this afternoon, Jason Naccarato and Mike Stone. And of course, none of this would have been possible today without our chamber staff, Don Ferguson and Rory Ring. We would also like to thank Tenaris and guests for joining us today and making their significant commitment to Sault Ste. Marie. At this time, we will move ahead with our annual general meeting, and we would like to formally call this meeting to order. If you are opposing or seconding a motion, we would ask that you please stand and state your name, the chamber member, business, or agency that you represent for the record. And please note that each chamber member, business, or agency in good standing only gets one vote and may only have one representative who can pose or second a motion. Chamber member businesses or agencies in good standing should have one red card, which we ask you to use for voting. On each table is a copy of today's agenda. I'm sure everyone has had a very long opportunity to review that as we're getting settled with lunch. But do we have a motion from the floor to accept today's agenda? So we have a motion from Sherry Burlinghoff and Salvatore Marchese. Thank you. By a show of hands, please raise your hand if you accept today's agenda of the 133rd Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce Annual General Meeting. Please note the vote is unanimous and the motion has been carried. You will also find the minutes from our last AGM on your tables. And again, do we have a motion from the floor to accept the minutes of the 132nd Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce Annual General Meeting, dated September 30th, 2021, as is.
I'm voting by proxy for Louise from Public Safety Professionals.
Thank you, Derek. And we also have Jason Nacarado. Thank you very much. By show of hands, please raise your hand if you accept the minutes of the 132nd Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce Annual General Meeting. The vote is unanimous and carried. So we do have a slight bylaw amendment. The following amendment to Section 2, members subsection 2.04, voting representative, has been recommended by the nominating committee and motioned by the executive committee acting on behalf of the board of directors during summer recess to be brought before the membership. A copy of the bylaws is present on your tables for you to review. The current bylaw reads, no voting representative shall be a direct full-time employee of the Government of Ontario, the Government of Canada, or a regional or municipal government in Ontario, or any other of their agencies, crown corporations, boards, or commissions. The proposed amendment would strike from Section 2, member subsection 2.04, voting representative, or any of their agencies, crown corporations, board, or commissions. The new bylaw would read, member subsection, voting representative would read, no voting representative shall be direct full-time employee of the Government of Ontario, the Government of Canada, or a regional municipal government in Ontario. Do we have a motion from the floor to adopt this revised bylaw? Ian Grant. Seconder. And John Offendani. Thank you very much. All unanimous? Thank you. Earlier this year, the Chamber put out a call to our membership for nominations for the 2022-2023 Board of Directors for 2 available positions. To be eligible for a nomination as a candidate for the Board of Directors, a nominee is required to be a delegated representative of a registered member of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce in good standing. Candidates are nominated by fellow chamber members, and each of our board nominees completed an orientation session earlier this year to confirm eligibility and commit to the role and responsibilities of being a chamber board of directors. We have 7 new board nominees and 2 open positions who have let their names stand. Their profiles are on your tables, and they are in alphabetical order. So if you're here, if you could please put your hand up. We have Nadia Amaral from BDC, who is a senior account manager. Helen Cavelli from Crime Stoppers of Sault Ste. Marie, interim VP and secretary. Lene Fregamini from Arthur Funeral Home, Barton and Kitely Chapel, Advanced Planner. Carolyn Hepburn from Sioux College, Director of Native Education. Oh, she had to send her regrets. Thank you, Roy. Stephen McCoy from Gen City Consulting, and he's the president. Katrina McMeekin from Kent World Travel, and she's the assistant and marketing manager. And Andrew Turgeon from Ontario Lottery and Gaming, who's the contract management director. As required by the Chamber bylaws, we are to ask for any further nominations from the floor. If there are any nominations from the floor, the nominee must agree to let their name stand for election, and we will require a motion, seconder, and a vote before we move to the election. Does anyone in attendance representing a chamber member in good standing wish to nominate any other individual or also representing a chamber member in good standing? I'm seeing none unless I'm missing something. No? Okay. So now at this time, I'd like everyone on their tables to complete their ballot by selecting only one or two candidates, and there's a ballot on your table, and someone will be coming around with a ballot box shortly to collect those. We will move ahead now after we've gone through that. I believe Dawn and team will be coming to collect those as our ballots have been tabulated. We have a number of reports to go through, but first I would just like to comment on a few notes from myself as we reflect on the last year as your president. And firstly, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be your president of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce. I've learned so much, and I will take this experience away with much gratitude. To say that things have been hard this year would be an enormous understatement. Our lives have been reshaped. The actions of our membership and the Chamber of Commerce actions have carried an enormous weight in our community. We have made difficult choices in uncertain situations, but closing our eyes to the enormous weight of COVID-19 wouldn't have made sense. The good news is that we can all do something about it. Together, whatever your situation, you have done your best over the past few years, and you should feel proud of your efforts. And thank you. Your actions have mattered, and they still do. If we've learned anything from this last year, it has been the unbeatable power that can be unleashed when you blend great people, experience, resilience, and a willingness to break from tradition in order to answer the call. Your Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce staff and board of directors, along with Strive, will continue to do that same work in 2022-2023. Using all we've learned, and hopefully we are seeing the prospect of an end in sight as we move into the next year. Either way, we will be there through the next phase, and we will be there when life and businesses continue to exit this pandemic. Your Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce is small, but as I like to say, we are difference makers. We have proved that every step of the way we are in the front of our membership, and we are making our decisions with them as our center. We are constantly evolving, and the commitment and the passion of our chamber and its membership has responded indeed, and I would like to commend you all. So as the calendar page turns to a new year, let me say thank you, and thank you for your continued dedication, loyalty, and support. I would like next to call on Chamber Treasurer Derek Jackson to fill us on the Chamber financials and handle the appointment of the auditors. I am then going to ask Derek to remain on the stage following his Treasurer's report and present the Chair's report for Strive Young Professionals Group.
Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure today to present to you our 2021-22 fiscal year financials. You have a full report in your package, so I'm going to try to keep this fairly high level. The Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce had a successful 2021-22 fiscal year, thanks to adaptive, creative nature of our team and members. While we await our final adjustments, we can confidently state that we are finishing our year quite strong. As we left here last year, after an exciting in-person AGM, we were quickly rerouted back into our virtual reality. We forecasted a largely in-person event with a conservative budget that concentrated on high-value programming and minimizing expenses where possible. With creative and timely programming, opportunities allowed the Chamber to finish the year with an increase in cash flow and revenue. With a mix of virtual and in-person events, our event revenue was slightly below our budget. However, our partnership programs created great value to our membership and also added dependable revenue streams that allowed the Chamber to finish ahead. We also relied on our dedicated volunteers to lead and operate one of our most important initiatives of the year, the Algoma Vaccination Support Council. This program brought in large amounts of funding while quickly putting 100% of those funds back into our community. The Chamber's existing approach to minimizing fixed costs proved to be successful as our team remains 100% remote work from anywhere approach to conducting business. Our team of Rory and Don remains a smaller human resource imprint than we've seen in the past, but I want to thank them and congratulate them on leveraging technology and streamlining their roles to become even more automated and efficient than ever. So thank you both for continuing to offer the same level of advocacy, programming, and events that we depend on. In a challenging year, we upheld our mission, vision, and values while our membership remained the top priority in all decision-making. And I'm proud to acknowledge a successful fiscal year, and I'm confident that our new treasurer, Salvatore, will guide us through another great year. So with that, we do have a motion in front of us to approve the auditors for the year ending in June 30th, 2023 for the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce. And the official motion is that we move that BDO Canada be appointed as auditors for Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Do I have a motion from the floor? Okay, I have a motion from Lori Nacarado, and do I have a seconder? And thank you, Salvador. By show of hands, please raise your hands if you approve BDO Canada being appointed the auditors for the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce for fiscal year ending June 30th. Thank you, the motion's been carried. I'm going to move right along and continue with an update for Strive Young Professionals Group. So I am proud to say that Strive has sustained our membership level through most of the pandemic and has once again had a positive year fiscally. With very little overhead for Strive, we continued to operate through the 2021-2022 year completely remote with only one in-person Strive at 5 event. We once again hosted our Algoma Visionary Awards through a lockdown period. With the help of our community partners, we hosted a virtual event that offered full dining and entertainment experience from home. Strive Young Professionals Group restructured our executive by decreasing the number of seats on our team and transitioning to a general executive positions instead of multiple specific roles and titles. The transition period was largely supported by our team, and subcommittees were formed to ensure the sustained approach to areas of concentration most important to our membership. Strive members were largely involved in the Algoma Vaccination Support Council, including Strive executive members Emily Cormier and Katrina McMeekin. With the support of the NOHFC and the Chamber, Strive hired our very first paid position in the likes of Maggie, and taking the pressure off of administration and execution off of our volunteer committee. While Maggie helped to sustain the efforts of Strive, our volunteers worked on refocusing Strive's approach to events and planning for a stronger comeback now that we are back in person. In the future, you can expect to see stronger community partnerships, diversifying events, as we partner with organizations like the Chamber to introduce our YPs to various other groups in our business community. We remain strong in our commitment to recognize YPs throughout the community, and we look forward to our most exciting Algoma Visionary Awards yet come January. This is my last address to you as the Strive Young Professionals Group Chair. It has been my pleasure to serve Strive for the past 3 years, and I'm thrilled to support and introduce Haroon Butt. This is Haroon. Haroon will be taking over as Strive leadership. Haroon was just elected as the Strive Chair by our membership, and I know he will do a great job supporting Strive Young Professionals Group with his unique leadership and flair. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Derek. Now I would like to invite Chamber CEO Rory Ring to briefly discuss the Chamber operations. Rory, it's up to you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and it's great to be live. We did this 1 year ago, and then 364 days later, we're able to get back together again, so it's great. It is a bit of an adjustment, you know, so for somebody like myself who's a bit of an extrovert, to be locked inside the home and working remote and seeing everybody in a square fundamentally changes, I think, the way you approach the world, so it's going to be nice to get back into the saddle. So really, I think what we're going to hear today is a little bit of also what was a statement by Charles Lowry, the chairman and president of CEO of Prudential Financial. And that's that companies don't exist for 150 years without reinventing themselves. You know, and as you reinvent yourself, in some ways, you're pressure testing yourself as to your beliefs, your purpose, and how you're going to act going forward. And this has really resonated, I think, in how we as a Chamber of Commerce and our membership has approached the new world that we are living in. The Chamber of Commerce was founded in 1889, and we faced our fair share of challenges in 133 years. I mean, 2 world wars, a Great Depression, a number of recessions, now the COVID pandemic, the current EU conflict, supply chain disruption, and severe labor shortages and mismatches. You know, and in addressing each of those events, the Chamber has always brought the community together and transformed itself to serve its membership better. And in our current state, transforming our performance means rethinking our organization by embracing a new model, operating as well as new services and programs. We heard Derek refer to those in his address, and emerging more agile as we, and embracing more agile approaches to advance the organizational health and to contribute to better results. We, you know, if you've seen our strategic plan, have as one of our pillars our responsibility and transparency to the membership to demonstrate how we are taking their investment and investing that in programs and services that enhance the way you approach your business, how you approach your community as a stakeholder. And while we've been improving that, our performance and focusing on costs have really, you know, advanced our breakthrough in achieving very positive results in a very challenging time. And when we simultaneously improve operating disciplines, make commitments that collectively redefine our business and strive to make a difference, we embrace our purpose in a more fulsome and beneficial way. And to deliver lasting change, we're taking actions that both boost performance and inspire our membership and community through programs such as Love Local. You have a little Target brochure on your table there. I encourage you to go to our website and look at the 18 videos we have promoting our local businesses community. And also, you know, we mentioned the Algoma Vaccination Support Council. We've been implementing a trade accelerator program, trying to get our businesses to look outside and generate positive revenue and create economic opportunity for our community. Discoverability, building our capacity through economic reconciliation and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I can just draw your attention here. We mentioned the Call to Action 92 and Truth and Reconciliation. We're proud to present this in many of the venues that we are going to, and to talk what we're doing here in Sault Ste. Marie to make sure that we're embracing truth and reconciliation, but also economic reconciliation. There's also a program that we're involved with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Economic Reconciliation Initiative, and Sault Ste. Marie has actually been instrumental in driving participation from our Indigenous leadership, and not just chief and council but really the boots on the ground with our economic development agencies in places like Garden River, Batchewana, and many other communities throughout Ontario. And we're very proud to have our name presented up there with some of the other folks that joined us at the Ontario First Nations Economic Development Conference down in Rama just recently, and Karen was there, and her spouse Kevin presenting. So these are the number of things that we're doing to make sure that we're having impact. And we can't do that, of course, without our membership, the support of our membership. That's emotionally, physically, and financially, and spiritually. So we thank you for everything that you've done to help support us. And also, I'm eternally grateful to my staff, Don Ferguson, our intern, Maggie Murray, who's gone on to other endeavors. And I would not be amiss to recognize Bob Burns, who over the last 10 months has been the head of the YMCA as their CEO. So his contribution this year was a couple of months, but we'll let him get away with being recognized for some strength in the initiatives that have come forward. So again, Bob, thank you. And thank you for joining us today. And also, my gratitude for the leadership and commitment of my executive committee and the board of directors. We cannot travel this path without their full support and trust in the things that we do. And that really means that we're getting traction with the full support of the membership, and that is powerful, and that's a unifying voice. And Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce is a real leader, not just here in Sault Ste. Marie, but at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. We are looked at as being one of the leaders in bringing forward progressive ways of thinking, doing, connecting, and we're very proud to be flying that banner across the country. And then finally, to the community of Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma, they've demonstrated the true commitment to a caring community, and we should all be very, very proud of every single one of our citizens. So I thank you for the opportunity to be your CEO. I thank you for your support, and I thank you for continuing on the journey of transformation. It doesn't end just with the end of a pandemic. It doesn't just end with a recession is over. It doesn't end when labor shortages are resolved. We continue to transform, and we transform based on the leadership that you provide to us. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been an honor and privilege to serve you again this year, and I look forward to doing it in a few years to come. Not retiring just yet.
Thank you, Rory. With that, do we have a motion from the floor to move that the reports from the 2021-2022 presidents, CEOs, Strive Young Professionals Group, and the Treasurer's report for the fiscal year end June 30th, 2022 be adopted as presented? Thank you, Derek and Ian. By show of hands, please raise your hands if you approve the reports as presented. Please note the vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. In addition to the materials discussed earlier, you will find copies of our 2021-2022 annual report on your tables. Do we have a motion from the floor to adopt the 2021-2022 Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce annual report? Jason Nacarado. Seconder, Lori Nacarado, thank you. By show of hands, and again, please raise your hands if you accept the 2021-2022 Sault Ste. Marie annual report. Thank you, and the vote is unanimous and the motion is carried. We will move now on acceptance of the new and terminated members from the fiscal year 2021-2022. In front of you, you will have a list of these. Please note that this list is from at the end of June 30th and might be adapted slightly. Do we have a motion from the floor to accept the new and terminated members for the fiscal year 2021? John Offendani, Jason Nacarado, thank you very much. By show of hands, raise your hand if you accept. Thank you, and the vote is unanimous. You may. Mm-hmm. No.
So we do have the election results, but we do have a tie. So we have to do another election. And that election, Don will be, if you can hold up a red card, Don will get a ballot to you. So we have a tie, and we will be conducting a vote, Lene Fragamini and Carolyn Hepburn. So once we resolve that, Don, if you want to hand those ballots out, we'll get that done, and then we will be able to proceed. So please finish off your lunch. It'll take a couple of minutes, and we'll get that resolved. If you want. But we're just going to have a little bit of space.
Okay. Well, do you know what? I'm going to continue because the next speaker is amazing and loves to speak. This is true. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to serve as your president of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber. I don't know how many times I've said Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce in the last 20 minutes, but I look forward to continue to serve the exceptional membership of the Chamber in my new role as immediate past president. With that, I would like to now invite Karen Bird to take over the balance of the agenda in her role as the new Chamber president.
Towards the presidency, and I kept saying, no, I just want to contribute, I just want to be in the background. And then they asked Trish, and she pulled the friend card and said, I'll only do it if you come after me. So here we are, a couple of years later. I do have to say, though, it's been one of the most fulfilling experiences I've had being on the Chamber, which I never thought would happen. So as most of you know, I've lived and worked in Sault Ste. Marie most of my life. I'm from Batchewana First Nation. I left only for about 10 years, just over a decade, to go to school and get work experience and come back. And in the experience of growing up on reserve and what that was like, I honestly never thought I would be doing something like this, where I'm helping businesses connect, learn about our people, thrive, contributing to the economy. It's not something that we're taught in our way of life. It's more of our own community and gathering together and healing and sharing with family. And, you know, we've talked about this in some circles in the past of some of the relationship difficulties between the First Nation community and Sault Ste. Marie, the historical relationships that are there. And I'd have to say, for myself and witnessing and working with on the Chamber, that there's definitely a change happening there. Things are going in different directions, conversations are happening, relationships are being built, and I'm just extremely excited to be a part of that, continuing and strengthening that. And of course, there is going to be a focus of Indigenous work as I do this next year and the things that I wish to infuse into the Chamber, but I'm not going to forget my responsibility as President Chamber and all of the other things. But it's an extreme proud moment for me to be the first Indigenous president of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber, and hopefully many more to come. But I think that speaks to the level of commitment to diversity that Sault Ste. Marie has and that our businesses have. So I won't say any more on that. Do we have a tally?
Almost.
You know, I could keep going for like an hour, but I don't want to do that. No. No, it's okay. It's all right.
Okay. Well, we'll wait. They should be ready to go pretty soon.
Okay, so a few more minutes, we'll be back and we will have the tally.
Actually, just before you go, I just want to recognize that the Chamber of Commerce was honored and privileged to actually have Karen MC at Tenaris' inauguration on Tuesday. And she did an amazing job, I think so. Like, it was great. And Trish, you wouldn't believe, you said Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce so many times. I think every representative that approached the mic mentioned the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce. Ministers, our MP, our MPP, Christian.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. It was super great branding to see us so highly recognized at that. And it was a great event that you put together. So thank you very much for having us. We really appreciate the representation. And you should all be very proud of how Karen conducted the proceedings.
Thank you.
I think we're almost ready. Don? I know I didn't hire him for his
We have to
counting
start
ability.
dancing. We have to start dancing now because there's still not time. Okay. Okay. So the votes have been tabulated, the tie has been broken, and we would like to welcome our new board of directors, including returning directors. So we have Patricia Porco representing RBC and will continue to offer her guidance as the immediate past president. There will be myself as president representing RBC Dominion Securities. We have Derek Jackson as vice president representing ATS. We have Randy Sharon, the secretary representing Scotiabank. There's a lot of banks at the table. We have Mr. Salvatore, oh my goodness. Thank you. Marchese, treasurer representing the Downtown Association. Jason Nacarado representing Northstar Consulting. Lori Nacarado of the BDC. John Offendani representing the Sioux Community Career Center. Sheila Purvis representing Purvis Marine Limited. Jennifer Rushton representing PQA and Plato Testing. Mr. Marcus Wilson representing Sun Life Financial, Northern Gateway. Ian Grant representing ATS. Sherry Burlinghoff representing SK Group. Haroon Butt, the new Strive chair. Rory Ring, our CEO, and our two newest directors, Lene Fragamini and Katrina Kemp. Welcome, welcome. I look forward to working with each and every one of you over this next year. And I would also like to extend a very special thank you to our retiring board member, Mr. Tim Harmer of Wishart Law. We've benefited greatly from his insights and expertise at our organization. And I really wanted to play a joke and not mention Mr. Michael Stone because he made such a big mention of it before, but so I'd like to personally thank Mr. Stone, who wraps up his term as a member of the Chamber as past president and served for 2021. Thank you, Michael. Okay. I declare the official business of the 133rd annual meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce is concluded and adjourned. The next step in our journey today is some guest speakers that we have in a fireside chat. So I am supposed to be up here continuing on in this position, but I actually have to literally run out the door. And the reason is, so tomorrow, as everybody knows, and as Trish had mentioned, was Truth and Reconciliation Day. And there are a lot of different events going on in our communities across the country to celebrate that day. And so myself, my husband, and my son are traveling 10 hours sort of west-south of here to my brother's house, and we are going to be fasting for a couple of days. So we are participating in our traditional culture, and we're going to go do ceremony and fast for a couple of days. And it's a 10-hour drive, and I actually will be in the bush less than 24 hours from today, so I need to mosey. So I'm going to invite Derek to come up and take over for me. Thank you so much.
I declare the formal portion closed. That's my first duty as vice president. No, so that does conclude our. Yep, that does conclude our formal portion of our AGM today. So I will require a motion to close this meeting. May I call for a motion from the floor? I have a motion from Mike Stone, seconded by Jason Nacarado. May I have a vote to close the meeting? All right, I declare this meeting adjourned for the business portion, but we will continue right along. So before I introduce our guest speakers, Ricardo Prosperi, president of Tenaris Canada, let's kick off with a very insightful video that I believe captures the true nature of our relationship with Tenaris.
Well, transformation, it's get ahead. You know, like the water, one is a little pond and nothing flows in, well, sooner or later it's gonna stink. Okay, so you have to change. People gotta move on. They gotta come up with new ideas, new things, new way to create things. And I think Tenaris, for me, is a blessing for this town because They're not just my customer, but over the years, they become my friends.
Transformation for me, especially in a positive way, is to embrace all accomplishments, but most importantly, accept mistakes and failure. I think by learning by those two things, the outcome for a transformation will be much stronger.
Transformation means to me that learning from my own mistakes and making myself better so that I don't do that, and making sure that the right material gets to the rig at the right time, the right place, and is never late.
Transformation means that we are able to meet local demand with local solutions. And it also showcases our commitment to the Canadian operations, local communities, and the Canadian economy.
Transformation to me is a process of continuous quality improvement. It's something we need to do at Sault College, and it's certainly something we see taking place at Tenaris, this continual investment, quality improvement, and a process of change that is benefiting not only our community, but the organization at large.
We are proud of the commitment of the transformation that Tenaris is doing towards the environment, reducing 30% of CO2 emissions by 2030.
And so we see the great transformation that is taking place at Tenaris, but also the effects that it has on our community, which are very positive.
The people from Tenaris, I think they did something great for the town. They're helping the community, they create jobs.
They've contributed to the Sault Area Hospital. They've contributed to programs at the college. Here in our robotics lab, they have made investments to help prepare our young people for the jobs of the future.
We work with our Canadian customers to help them, to support them with their development of the resources within Alberta. This ultimately helps meet the world's energy demand and supports the Canadian economy.
As far as transformation and working for Tenaris, I'd like to see Canada grow into the global market, meet its demand elsewhere. It's a great feeling knowing that Tenaris operates from coast to coast.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Ricardo Prosperi, President of Tenaris Canada. With more than 30 years of leadership in steel sector and tech group companies such as, I'm so sorry, I don't, okay, Cedar, Ternium, and Tenaris, Ricardo Prosperi assumed the role of Tenaris President in Canada in August 2019. Prosperi manages the company's activity across the country for all 1,000 employees, including its Canadian headquarters in Calgary, manufacturing facilities in Sault Ste. Marie, Calgary, and Nisku, and service facilities in Grand Prairie, Fort Saskatchewan, and Bienfait. Before taking his current position, Prosperi served as a Tenaris president for the Andean region, responsible for the investment program of over $400 million US, resulting in the creation of over 500 jobs. He was responsible for the company's regional operations in Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Central America, and the Caribbean since 2010. He also presided over the Tenaris Tubo Caribe Foundation, investing over $500,000 US per year in community development, and was a director of the Latin American Steel Association, ALERSO, from 2007 to 2019. Prior to his responsibilities in Tenaris, Prosperi built his career in Ternium and Tech Inc. Group Steel's making company. After beginning in the planning department in Argentina in 1985, he was promoted through several positions until 2007, when he was appointed president at Ternium Sidar in Venezuela, where he was responsible for over 6,000 employees and international general director of Ternium in Mexico until 2010. Mr. Prosperi graduated in 1987 from Instituto Tecnológico Buenos Aires with a degree in industrial engineering. In 1998, he completed his MBA at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. He is an Argentine citizen currently residing in Calgary, Canada. Please join me in welcoming Ricardo Prosperi.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you, Rory, thank you all the authorities of the Chamber of Commerce. For me, it's a very big pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to share who we are and what we are doing and what are our plans. I mean, this is an interesting week for us, no? It's a very important week. During 3 years, we have been working very, very hard for these projects. But of course, I mean, after seeing the video, you already know that we produce pipes, no? Steel pipes. What is Tenaris is a steel pipe producer for the energy sector mainly, but we also produce pipe for other applications. We are, in our business, producing OCTG line pipe and pipe for the energy sectors. We are the largest company in the world, and we have premises in many, many different countries. Today, we have almost 30,000 employees all across the world. We belong to an organization, it's the Tekin Group of companies. We have more companies in the holding, in the Tekin Group. We have Ternium. Ternium is a flat and long product steel producers. We produce today around 12 million tons of steel, mostly in Latin America. We also own Tekin Construction, that is a construction company, of course. Tech Petrol, that is an oil and gas producer, also mainly operating in Latin America. Tenova, in Tenova we produce industrial equipment for the industry. And Humanitas, in Humanitas we have a network of hospitals in the healthcare business, mainly in Europe. This is the Tekin Group. Overall, the Tekin Group has today approximately 80,000 employees around the world, and our total invoicing is a little bit above $25 billion. So a very large corporation. And we are here in Canada. I mean, what means Canada for us, for Tenaris, of course, is extremely important. It's a very important market. For oil and gas, for the oil and gas energy, Canada is the fourth largest producer of oil and gas. So since this is our business, we have a strong presence here in Canada. We decided this many years ago. We have a history here in this country of being very active for more than 20 years. We have been growing through the years, mainly through acquisitions. We acquire many companies, but also we have done many investments, greenfield and brownfield also. 3 years ago, we decided to relocate our production and to focus a little bit more on Ontario. I mean, we not only produce pipes, we also are very active in providing services around the pipes. So we provide a lot of services like what we call the rig direct, and we provide, let's say, we send the pipes directly from the mill to the rig, and we have traceability pipe by pipe. We help the oil and gas companies to do the well design. We provide field services, running assistance on the rig. We provide accessories, I mean, pipe management, many different services. So the decision that we made 3 years ago, because we are in a process of transformation too, big transformation in the company, is to move and concentrate most of the production here in Sault Ste. Marie, in northern Ontario, and on the west, we are basically having the services component. So we have many sites very close to the operation of our customers, the oil and gas companies. But the most important things to know is that we decided to concentrate the production here. Why here? Because it's more competitive. Labor is better, energy cost is better, even the logistic is better. For us, we are much closer to the steel producers. It's much better to produce the pipe here, keep the scrap here in Ontario, and ship directly the final product to the west. We have a very efficient logistic. I mean, our lines of production finish directly to the rail cars, and we send directly the rail cars, and the rail cars enter directly to our service centers on the west, where we have in basically Alberta and BC. So we were working very hard on reshaping the company, gaining a lot of efficiency. With this investment, we add a lot of technology. state-of-the-art technology. We also work hard on the expansion of our product portfolio. We add a lot of products. We inaugurated 2 days ago the premium line. What is the premium line? Is where we produce the most sophisticated products that the industry requires, and of course, the most value-added products. No? And we were not producing those pipes here in Sault Ste. Marie. We also added an ERW line. We have been working a lot also on our product development side, adding new products, new diameters, new steel grades, new threads. The objective that we have is basically to produce here in Sault Ste. Marie 85% of all what we are planning to sell in Canada. And also, we used to import a lot. Now we are targeting to reduce the imports, but also we are going to export from here. No? So we are really growing. We have been hiring, let's say, in the last year and a half, almost 400 employees. Today, we have overall a little bit more than 800 employees across Canada, and more than 600 are located here in Sault Ste. Marie. So we're giving much more focus here to the city. Our values, just very brief, safety. Safety is number one, of course. Without safety, we have nothing, so it's a big priority in Tenaris. The second value is quality, and when I say quality, it's not just the quality of the product that is obvious. It's the quality, I mean, whatever we do, we really are searching for excellence, constantly searching for excellence, and this is what the quality means for us. Transparency is another very important value for us, and the most important, that is the link with you, is the relation with the community. We are pretty active in all the countries where we operate to be very active in the communities. We have been very active here. We are supporting. We have, global programs. We dedicate a lot of energy to support education, mainly education. That's why we support a lot to college, but we also support here after-school programs and many other activities. We are growing also, because if we are growing in our business, we have to grow also in our non-profit activity, and the plan is to continue growing. So the idea, I am extremely optimistic. I truly believe we are constantly, and we are working in new investments right now. I'm positive that we are going to bring more investments, and we are going to hire more people here in Sault Ste. Marie. Good things are coming, and we really want to develop even further the relation that we have with all the community here. So this is a little bit the introduction that I would like to do, and I believe that next we have the opportunity for you to ask a few questions. No? But okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So yes, up next, we'd like to kick off our fireside chat that committed to the future industry and community by asking our CEO, Rory Ring, our moderator, and our guest from Tenaris to come join me on stage here as I introduce them. So come on up, I'll keep going. Attending virtually is Shellie Clark, Vice President Commercial, Tenaris. Shellie Clark is a Commercial Vice President for Tenaris in Canada with over 20 years of steel, tubular, and energy industry experience, ranging from engineering to oilfield services to pipe manufacturing. She leads the company's commercial business, focusing on revenue growth, asset utilization, risk mitigation, and cost optimization. Shellie's strong transformative vision for Tenaris' industrial business in Canada led to the company's most recent $150 million investment in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A re-envisioned state-of-the-art facility that will extend the range of domestically produced products and consolidate Tenaris' pipe manufacturing operations under one roof. In addition, through the centralization of electric resistance weld and seamless pipe production, the new facility will improve the sustainability and efficiency of Tenaris' operations, optimizing resources and positively impacting greenhouse gas emissions. Prior to being promoted to her current role, Shellie was Vice President of Strategic Planning. Shellie is based in Calgary, Alberta, is a member of Tenaris Canada's Executive Committee, and is actively involved in its Diversity and Inclusion Working Group. Also, we'll introduce David McHattie. David is the Vice President of Institutional Relations with Tenaris. As Canada's leading manufacturer and service provider of steel pipes for energy development, Tenaris has invested significantly in its operations in Canada, with Dave playing an important leadership role in this growth. Since David joined Tenaris in 1999, he helped found the Canadian operations. He has held leadership roles in Canada, including marketing, strategic planning, and now institutional relations, where he develops and implements stakeholder strategies, creating a healthy business environment for Tenaris to grow sustainably. David helped develop plans for the integration investment, including projects of more than $100 million and acquisitions valued over $1 billion. David is the trade policy lead for Tenaris in Canada and participates on the North America Steel Trade Committee since 2006. He has successfully fought for fair trade in Canada for manufacturing by leading successful anti-dumping trade actions at the Canadian International Trade Tribunal. Dave holds leadership positions in several of Canada's preeminent national business associations, advancing public policy positions for Canadian manufacturing, energy, trade, and investment. He serves as the National Board Chair for the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters Association from 2018 to 2021. He is presently past chair and board member since 2014. As Vice Chair of the Petroleum Services Association of Canada since 2020, as Chair of the Trade and Public Policy Committee of the Canadian Steel Producers Association until 2018, and an Advisory Board Chair for the Alberta Division of the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters since 2013. Always supporting the important connection between Canadian energy and manufacturing, Dave is often asked to speak publicly on these topics in the future of manufacturing in Canada. Dave is active in the Canadian Chamber of Commerce through its Resource Champion Initiative, International Trade Committee, and by participating on policy paper steering committees for energy in 2009-2010 and China in 2017. In 2020, Dave was appointed to serve on the federal government's COVID-19 Supply Council. He helped raise over $1 million as chair of the organizing committee of the 2020-21 PCAC STARS and SPURS Gala in support of the STARS Shock, Trauma, Air, and Rescue Services. Dave holds an MBA in International Business, Strategy, and Marketing from the University of Illinois and a business degree from the University of Regina, a public administration and history from University of Saskatchewan. Rory, come on up, guys, and Rory, please start with the discussion when you're ready.
Thank you. And Shellie will be joining us from Calgary. She might have thought it was inconvenient not to be able to find a hotel when she came for the inauguration on Tuesday, but it's a good sign for us because every hotel room was full, and the Agawa train tour is at capacity. So that's fantastic. So Shellie, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it still plus 30 in Calgary?
It is very warm. I got home last night and it was 21.
Wow. I know I have a son in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and they've had quite the summer. So, and my tomatoes are suffering dramatically with the lousy summer that we've had here. So, thank you very much. And I just actually want to recognize, David and Ricardo, the contribution that Tenaris made, and really with David's lead, to support the Algoma Vaccination Support Council. And, you donated to us $15,000 that we took and reinvested back into our community through our food service providers, supporting the staff and volunteers at all the vaccination clinics. And, it was a tremendous recognition for the effort and, going the extra mile that those staff and volunteers were actually putting forward for our community. I think, and it matches really well what we're going to talk about today in connectivity to the community and what it means in terms of the transformation for industry. So Ricardo, I'd just like to start with you if I could, and just, the video I think said it all, like really what are the impacts, but what is the philosophy and the drive between sort of shifting and transforming from the traditional notion of shareholder value to stakeholder value, and those stakeholders really being in community. and you know, not just for Tenaris, but industry in a whole. I wonder if you could sort of reflect on that for us.
Well, thank you for the question. I think, I mean, social responsibility was always in our agenda, no? I mean, we have been working for many, many years on be sustainable and also to work together towards our stakeholders. We are taking care not only on the profit activity, but also on the community, on the environment, health and safety, and so on, no? We have been participating actively also on the World Steel Association. We have a very active group, and in fact, Tenaris have been earning the award of the sustainability in the last, if I'm not wrong, 5 years. For us, it's a very important part of our agenda, for sure.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and we see the results here, obviously, and you know, through the business cycles, you know, it has its positive and it has its negative impacts on you economically as a company. But you really never stopped supporting our community locally, whether it be Sault College or, like you say, the not-for-profit activities. So it's really very much appreciated.
Yes, yes, and we have to consider, I mean, that transformation that I explained briefly, I mean, because now we have the Bari Center here in Sault Ste. Marie, no? So we have today even 8 sites, people in 8 different locations across Canada. No, but what we are saying now is, okay, community, the main and the most important activity should be here in Northern Ontario, in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, and we appreciate the investment.
This is something that is going relatively new, no? Because we were doing a lot of things and was a little bit spread all across Canada, no? And I believe that now we have to concentrate much more effort here in the city, because of course we are much more active here. No?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know,
and I think I think one of the things that Sault Ste. Marie should be proud of is that the pandemic was a challenge for everybody. But in the worst times of the pandemic, the 2 largest companies in Sault Ste. Marie made investment commitments. So not only the investment commitment by Tenaris, but the investment commitment by Algoma Steel. This is what happens when you have community, business, government partnership. In challenging times, you can continue to invest.
Absolutely. And we know a lot of those investments don't happen unless there's sales and commercial activity. So we have Shellie with us here from the commercial side. And Shellie, maybe, you know, can you sort of give us a perspective of what's happening in the oil and gas market? We know there's a lot of publicity around Western Canada and some of the challenges. We'll talk to Dave more specifically about some of the policy issues, but from your perspective, what are the markets saying to you in the short term, but also in the long term?
Yeah, so it's become an interesting year, of course, following COVID, where everything was very quiet. The energy market and the need for energy does not disappear no matter what we're doing. So there's always an underlying need to be renewing some of those that production and the resources. The past 5 years have been very challenging for the Canadian energy industry, since 2015 even, so going back to that year. As a result, I think we were the most well-prepared industry kind of group in the world when it came to COVID, because we had to, all of our customers were really well practiced in being, you know, capital conservative. Their plans were very, cash flow oriented. And that meant that we were in a much healthier position coming into COVID. From a stability standpoint, coming out of COVID, we haven't seen a crazy ramp up in an industry that you're seeing in other parts of the world. We've got a very stable rig count. We're producing very responsible levels of oil and gas. It's important to know the size of Canada in the world, you know, the mix of the world's production. We're the 3rd largest oil producer in the world, and the 5th largest natural gas producer in the world. And today in particular, with what's been happening in the Ukraine and the focus on energy security, the spotlight is moving towards how can we do more to take this abundant resource and supply different regions in the world to de-risk some of their current supply. So the opportunities today are stable, and I feel like it's a healthy environment. But what's coming from this last year of geopolitical strain and stress is a focus on how do we increase the LNG export capacity. That's the cleanest natural gas in the world. It will come from our customers, which means that we will be producing more and needing more pipe from Algoma. It's a market that's increasing, by the tune of from a production standpoint for natural gas, 25% in 2 years. So that means 25% more OCTG pipe. You need pipelines for that. Gas is one of the least controversial products from a pipeline standpoint. Of course, we know oil is more controversial, but there's a really positive environment that we're facing. And this means that the premium line that we invested in, the increase in the higher end metallurgy, all of those products are the perfect combination of products that will feed an area that is a supply source for these LNG projects. So we couldn't have invested in that at a better time. It's a massive market. The Canadian market is about 1 million tons a year of OCTG and line pipe. And with our facility now in Sault Ste. Marie, we should be able to, when we conclude all of the transformational investments, supply at least half of that.
There's some great opportunity. And we talk about a lot of opportunity and how, we struggle sometimes to take advantage of that opportunity. So I'd ask David, from a policy perspective, as a nation, what do we need to do to really, not just incrementally take advantage of these opportunities, but to be a world leader? What is our policy environment, and how can we maybe evolve some of that policy to really become that world leader?
Sure. I think number one is let's build from our strengths. So we have some strengths and some capabilities and some opportunities. But I'd like to talk a little bit about two dimensions of competitiveness. One is fair competition, and the second is the supports for manufacturing competitiveness. Now, maybe focus on unfair competition first, because we hear about it in the steel industry. It's more active in combating unfair trade. But recently, the federal government has put in place a policy support tool for smaller businesses that can help coach them through the process if they feel they are vulnerable to unfair trade and to potentially file complaints. And so when I say, it's very important in the global environment to trade fair, steel is a product that is oversupplied in the world. There's more capacity for steel than needs steel, primarily due to China and the fact that they expanded their capabilities far, far beyond what anybody needed. And so China is the biggest challenge today, and their excess capacity. In addition to that, they built that capacity based on export supports from their government. So the Chinese Party, Communist Party of China, supporting exports is an unfair subsidy. So we have dumping, which is sales below your domestic price, or an unfair price, and unfair subsidy. So we're combated by both. And we need strong trade remedy laws in Canada in order to support Canadian manufacturing. And if we don't have these strong trade remedy laws, we can see complete sectors disappear. And so that's why the steel industry is so proactive and aggressive in defending themselves. This is an anchor tenant for a community like Sault Ste. Marie. It's an anchor tenant for the province of Ontario. And so I think it's important for us as business leaders to understand how important it is that we defend our Canadian interests against unfair trade, because we have jobs here, and from other countries, they're trying to take our jobs.
There was a discussion on Tuesday, sorry, I just want to interrupt, because to really crystallize, I think, what the impact is, that I think in the lines that you do, the Chinese at one point had about a 2% share of market, and within a couple of years they were up to 25%. Was that what we?
So it's actually much more terrible than that. And so we've had unfair trade cases against China since 2010. And as a result, they kind of standardized at a share below 5%. And there's one small exception where some fraud went on, and thankfully, in 2015 to 17, the government stepped up and issued over $100 million in duties. Now you paid, by the way, and we lost the production, sales, and jobs, but they stepped up. And I might digress a little bit. So what's happened in 2022 is that for the products we produce, they went from that below 5% share, crept up, to, through the first 6 months, over 20% share, and then in the last month, in August, 50% share of the market. Like, just rapid. And so when we think about the words inflation and we see the nightly news, well, there has been an increase in the selling price of the products that we produce, along with the cost, but increase in the prices, and that went up by 200%. Well, that gave the opportunity for the Chinese exporters to sell at a price far lower than that 200% increase. And this is the unfair trade that we're combating, and we're very thankful to have a federal government who is accessible to businesses, and we look forward to the action that they hopefully will take to bring it back into that normal, fair, competitive environment that is not distorted by unfair trade.
Let me add some values, some figures, just to figure out what is the size of the problem. I mean, in the steel industry, 30 years ago, China was less than 10% of the total world production, and today is 50% of the total world production. Why is that? Because the Chinese government decided 30 years ago to focus, because they needed the steel production to do all the development and the transformation of China, construction. So it was a decision of the government, and today more than 90% of the companies, of the steel companies in China, are state-owned companies. So even though we are the largest company in the world, and we truly believe in competition, free competition, of course, Tenaris cannot compete against the Chinese government. I mean, so in this regard, we have to work together with the government in order to have a balance of this and a fair trade. No?
And Shellie, I hope you're not on commission, because that could be a pretty challenging environment to be working in. But when you're developing your commercial relationships, maybe you could talk a little bit about how you present the Canadian brand and the Canadian advantage when you're competing in a market like that, because it must be extremely difficult.
You know, it is difficult. It was probably more difficult in the past. I would say the investment we're making right now and the transformation we're making in Sault Ste. Marie has been material in educating our Western customers that we are very much a Canadian-based company. You know, prior to these investments, we could only produce 60% of what the industry required from Canada, and that left a lot of opportunity for other imports to come in and lost jobs. In the last 3 years, and I think we still have a few investments to make and some opportunities left there. When we're done, we'll be able to produce 80% of what this market needs. And when we tell that story to our customers, they are increasingly aware of the decision they're making, because we're also tying it to, you can buy a ton of Tenaris or a ton of pipe from China or Europe, but when you buy from Tenaris, you're keeping somebody's job in Canada. And I think more and more that resonates with them. We had 8 of the biggest customers in Canada at the inauguration. It was great for them to see the size of the facility, the investments. They could see Algoma Steel behind our plant, and they could see the enthusiasm in the community and the number of people we employed. And they are going to bring that back. These are organizations that drive the biggest developments in Canada. And for the first time, really, I think that they feel that Canada has a major Canadian supplier that they align with, because they themselves are Canadian.
It's interesting. I know, David, you and I have talked about, you know, how do unfair materials, you know, move its way into market, and just contextually, like some of these are just trading offices, right? It could be just 2 or 3 people. That's 2 or 3 jobs compared to the 800 that you produce here in Canada and 600 here in Sault Ste. Marie. So when we think about that as a community, it really puts it into perspective.
I might even just use another number. the imports from China in 2022 that we've seen, $254 million of imports. These are sales that we could have been made. This is production that we could have had here.
Yeah, I mean, it really is truly impactful. I just want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the oil and gas sector. And, and Ricardo, I'm going to come to you later just in terms of a global trend, but I want to ask Dave, we've got this tremendous opportunity as we identified, Shellie, early on in the EU and the challenges there for displacing Russian-supplied energy. What does Canada need to do to get the third world's largest producer, fifth in I think was LNG? No.
Natural gas.
Natural gas, thank you. What do we need to get that stuff to market? Because our capacity to do so is tremendous. Our ability is not matching.
Yeah, I think number one is that the world needs all sources of energy. So the world is interested in a diverse supply of energy. We have an abundance of oil and natural gas here, but we all know we have a competitive advantage here in Canada, especially in Ontario, where we have our electricity coming from fossil fuel-free sources. And so this is an advantage for us in our manufacturing to be producing steel and steel products at the best emissions that you could have for Canadian use. So what can we do as Canadians, as business leaders? I think we can support that diversity of supply, that we have the opportunity, because of the energy insecurity, because of choices people are making on their energy sources in their countries, they want more of Canada. And they want to buy from an energy industry that is continuing to invest in innovation and lowering its emissions. They want to buy from an energy industry that is using steel, like the steel that we are providing, that is produced in a responsible and sustainable way. And so the more we talk about these things, I think the more that we understand there's an opportunity for Canada to expand its exports of energy. And if it does so, it's going to expand employment growth and the GDP of communities like Sault Ste. Marie.
Interesting. And Ricardo, I mean, as part of a large global organization, what are you hearing from your colleagues about the situation in the EU and the impacts that it's going to have on you as a global corporation? And then where do you see Tenaris Canada sort of fitting within that mix?
Well, I mean, the situation today in Europe is quite complex. No? We have facilities in Europe, in Italy, in Romania, in UK. So, I mean, we are going to be impacted. We are already impacted by the price of the gas. This, for us, in Canada, is an opportunity in a way. No? I mean, we shouldn't be thinking this way, but it is truly an opportunity. We are seeing North America playing a different role today and in the future. No?
And how does that, from a corporate level, the impacts of what's happening in the EU, and you've identified some of your locations, that are in some pretty sensitive areas. And what is the view of the larger corporation in terms of investment and the potential to shift investment into Sault Ste. Marie or in a longer term prospect, really?
That's a very good question, because in the end, I mean, we have facilities in many places. My last assignment was in Colombia, and we have in the whole Andean region. No? So we had facilities in Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador with very low cost, very low labor cost. No? So you can ask, okay, why are you invested in Canada instead of producing in Mexico or Colombia or Argentina and ship it and sell it? First of all, we see the size of the market. We see the logistic, and that's why we are investing here, because we have to be here. We have to produce and ship it to the customer very, very fast. We have to be very efficient in this way, but also we have to add much more technology. If you see, I mean, all the technology that we have in other facilities compared with the technology that we are adding here, that's why we are supporting quite a lot Sault College on the robotic, because we are adding robots and we are planning to add more and more. I mean, we need to we have to be much more competitive in a way, if you want, compared with other mills. But we are definitely decided to go ahead and we really want to produce we are going to continue doing investment and want to produce here in Canada all what we really want to sell in Canada. No?
Interesting, interesting. And Shellie, I'll go to you because, you know, we talk about, you know, investments that are happening here in Canada. We've talked a little bit about the policy environment, but where I think there's some big challenges, the balancing act between GHG production, carbon capturing, production of energy. And Shellie, you spoke to the Canadian Conference on Carbon Capture and Storage, and I wonder if you could give us a picture of the conversations that were happening there.
Yeah, that was last week, and it was the first national conference to discuss carbon capture, utilization, and storage. It was interesting. This was held in Edmonton because Edmonton, north of Edmonton, is where the biggest carbon capture and storage hubs are being located, because there's a big petrochemical refining sector there, much like Sarnia in Ontario. So this brought 3,000 delegates from around the world. It concentrated a lot of that focus on the technologies that we've been using for decades. There's something called enhanced oil recovery in Canada, where you inject water or CO2 into a reservoir to enhance its production. It increases the pressure and allows you to produce that oil or gas a little longer. That technology is exactly what we have adapted to be able to develop this idea of a carbon storage hub. And so that conference brought it was thought leaders from around the world. A lot of it was focused on policy because there's a lot of decentralization of the policy provincially, federally. There's challenges. It's not specific to Canada, but more importantly, it actually got down to what are the challenges we all face. And our perspective that we brought to that is, we're a heavy industry. We're we're a big polluter. We're a heavy emitter, and we're a very difficult to abate industry. So what are all of these groups and actions doing to help us? Tenaris has as a goal to reduce our carbon footprint and our GHG emissions 30% by 2030. And that is achievable with the technology we have today. But it is very well recognized that in order to get to that net zero goal in 2050, we really have to innovate and develop other technologies. And primarily that would come from things like hydrogen. So the conversation was really around what we have today, the easiest, fastest way to get to lowering emissions, that's carbon capture. And then I was able to share with everybody what Tenaris is doing, because in our industry and amongst our peers, we are investing and trying and experimenting with many different pilots. So one of the things we're doing is the furnace technology that we are upgrading and changing in Argentina is a technology that reduces our consumption of electricity, natural gas, and electrodes, and it's far more efficient. This will be the first time we use this technology in any of our facilities. Also in Argentina, we've invested $200 million in a wind farm. We are going to pilot the use of increasing our demand from renewable energy there. This should reduce our CO2 output by 150,000 tons per year. That's very exciting. If this works there, it might work in other facilities. Of course, places like where our Algoma Tubes facility is, it's more challenging for some of these pilots to come. We have a Dalmine is the facility in Italy. This is the facility in Europe that Ricardo was talking about. There, we capture the CO2 from our power generation unit. That emits about 50% of our GHG emissions in that facility. So we capture that today. We are actually selling that, shipping it across the highway, selling it to an industrial gas company, and they are upgrading and converting that CO2 into food grade and beverage grade carbonized products. So very exciting. That's only 10,000 tons per year, but on the scope of what other organizations can do, that's a large sale. So that's the utilization piece. We have to find more opportunities to do that. And then the last one that we are focusing on is, and we've converted one of our burners in Italy in the rotary hearth furnace to be able to run off of hydrogen, is we're working with various groups to develop green hydrogen. When we look at why it's difficult for us to abate all of our CO2 emissions, it's because there are many emission points throughout our process. You can capture some of them in the larger areas, but there are so many emission points that it's not enough to capture the carbon after we've run the equipment. We actually have to use a different fuel source and energy source, and this is where the development of hydrogen comes in. So lots of exciting things happening. When they're vetted and everything is commercialized, we are able to adapt those and move them into different facilities.
I think there's a good opportunity to carbon capture and make beer, carbonized beer. I think we're sold on that policy move.
So Rory, the other person, there was another panelist who was from a brewing company in Alberta who is buying CO2 and converting it. They buy about 100 tons per year, which is, when I was telling you we do 10,000 tons a year in Italy, but that's exactly what they do. They're using that in their carbonization process. Gotta love innovation for sure. So David, let's go travel down this carbon path a little bit more in terms of pricing, not domestically though, but how do we hold countries who are not, implementing the types of things that we're talking about, and yet dumping product into a country that has more aggressive climate policy, environmental policy, labor policy? I know you and I have talked about that, but what are the kind of things the Canadian government can do? What are some of the policies maybe that will help us address these issues on a global basis?
Sure, and I think we can recognize, and I think we always have to recognize, Canada is a leader, and it has taken actions pricing carbon, and we're proud to be a leader. However, as a manufacturer, that's a cost for us, and it's a cost we're bearing, and we're fine with it. The challenge is that other countries aren't behaving the same way. They behave in a highly competitive world. As we think about China, they are moving their products to whatever country will take it. We need, at some point, policy supports that equalize the playing field. When we talk about the trade remedy laws, equalizing the playing field is all we're asking for. The federal government has done some public consultations. They're doing some thinking. The Canadian Steel Industry Association, of which we are a member and Algoma Steel are members, they were just in Paris last week having some conversation about these things. But it's an emerging topic. There's not one solution that everyone's agreed to yet, but it's, let's say, somewhat promising. And so whether it's a carbon border tax, or whether it's a carbon club where countries that think and act similarly establish a floor. We're not certain, but we will be at the table discussing, and we're proud to have a federal government that is similarly at the table and interested to be a leader.
Interesting. So just, I'm going to go for one last question, first to Shellie, Dave, then yourself, Ricardo, to wrap things up. But Shellie, we know that you're involved heavily in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. You work in a very male-dominated industry. And can you talk to that environment and how you're seeing that environment transform?
Yes, and I actually work in 3 male-dominated industries. So one is steel, the other is energy, and the third is manufacturing. And so, I mean, I've seen the challenges throughout my career. I can't tell you how many years ago I started, but it was decades ago. And where we are today is leaps and bounds ahead of that. The reality is we have to be very bold. This conversation has to come to the forefront. We've got to show it. You've got to be it. I think what's become very clear, one of the reasons I really love Tenaris, I came to Tenaris 5 years ago, and I will never leave this company, is because I really have not been at a company that embraces diversity and inclusion the way Tenaris does. We're very focused on high performing, processes in our systems, but same with people, and we encourage that and develop that throughout. The reality is hiring diverse talent isn't enough to make a change here. It's partly related to the workplace environment. This is what shapes people's enjoyment and satisfaction at their job and makes them thrive. So, diversity numbers are one of the focus, and then being an inclusive company and culture is also very important. But that accountability and making that happen actually starts at the leadership level. And this is where Ricardo, our CEO, Paula Roca, are extremely supportive and sponsor a lot of different initiatives related to that. but it also has to go beyond that level. And this has to permeate into the rest of the organization. And we have to feel that this is a culture. It can't be haphazard. We have adopted a very structured approach to how we want to increase our diversity and inclusion and improve it for our employees. So really, I think it starts at the top. You have to permeate the whole organization. I believe in the philosophy, if you can see me, you can be me. This is something you hear in women in manufacturing and throughout different groups. And so we have to be more visible. That's whether you're a woman or a member of the other underrepresented group. So very important to me to make sure as often as we can that we're demonstrating that there are a lot of opportunities for women. It's a really exciting industry, or three in my case. But this is what I think has become really clear with Tenaris. It's not just my job to increase and show that diversity is important and that anything's possible, but it comes down to the team you work with. And I work with almost all men, and they're very supportive, and this is why I think it's making a difference in Tenaris. So that's diversity isn't just a good business decision. It really comes down to improving the prosperity in our communities amongst all groups. And so we're very supportive of that. And I'm glad I'm coming. That I
that's
feel
a very
that's
a very positive perspective, and it's great to see that positive action happening. And I don't know if yourself is aware, but Tenaris has been a very proud sponsor of our Indigenous of the Year Business Award and our Indigenous Professional of the Year Award, and really participated in helping us promote diversity and equity and inclusion in our own space here in our community. So David, maybe you can provide us with some final thoughts on what your views are in terms of your role with the Manufacturers Association, and just your involvement in other spaces, of what we can do, here maybe locally or even, provincially or federally, to really up the game and inspire manufacturing.
Well, I think, number one, I think you've heard it already, this is a globally competitive market. And so we as Canadians need to think of things in the lens of competition. So how can we do it? Well, we're really fortunate here. We have two very good educational institutions here, Sault College, Algoma University. These are important ingredients to what we need, because two ways you can solve the competitiveness challenges that we are going to continue to have. One is technology, continuing to invest in technology, and where all countries are investing in these technologies, having support from government in order to encourage this investment, to help make it economic where it's not. And I think where we can start with, we do start with larger organizations bringing it in. That trickles into the supply chain very well, because those companies get bigger, need more from the smaller supply chain, so it works ideally. But the second dimension is on people. And you heard Shellie talk about diversity and inclusion. The reality is we need more people, and we need to search from everywhere to find those people. There is no one solution. So we need to bring in people from underrepresented groups into our sector. And I think both of the institutions in Sault Ste. Marie are doing the same. They're bringing new Canadians in. They are reaching out into the high schools, into the elementary schools, and we as Tenaris are doing the same, whether it's the robotics competitions or the science fairs. This is how we encourage young people to think about STEM and to get excited about STEM. And so if we can invest in technology, which will help improve our costs and our emissions, by the way, and we invest in our young people who become familiar with those technologies, whether they're working on an hourly or a salary basis, this is how we can build a community. And if we build all of these communities, we are a strong Canada. And I think we have an opportunity here in Sault Ste. Marie, and this is one of those commitments that Tenaris is making by investing in technology and investing in our young people in this community.
That's very positive for us to hear. And the future is our youth, and we have to invest in them, and they have to invest in themselves to bring Canada forward and Sault Ste. Marie to put us on the map. So, Ricardo, no specific question. I really just, looking to you to sort of, for you just talk about what is top of mind for you starting, now that we're inaugurated here with the new line. where do you see Tenaris going, you know, and just your thoughts, really, just to wrap things up for us.
Yes, I want, more than ramp up, I want to expand a little bit because the last two questions were on diversity also. They raised the point of people, and of course, I mean, we haven't been talking a lot about this. That is a critical point, no? Because now we have to focus, and we are focusing quite a lot on our people. It's the most valuable asset that we have by far. So we have been talking about investment in technology, in robots, this and that, but who is going to be maintaining the robot? Who is going to be doing the engineering to install the robots and so on? And we are pretty active. In Tenaris, we invest quite a lot. I had the chance to do the master. I am one of examples, the master, because the company decided to send me to do the master degree. And in the end, we are doing this. We are doing many different activities in order to develop our people, to give opportunities to our people. We are bringing now a lot of people from the different side of Tenaris because, I mean, the knowledge transfer is very important. But at the same time, we are sending local people to other facilities, and we are planning to do this even further. We have to start doing this more and more and more. 15 years ago, we decided to invest in our own infrastructure, and we created what we call Tenaris University. And we provide all the training to our employees, from the top management to the shop floor employees, specific training to give all the people the necessary tools to be successful. I think that focus on the people is really the key. We have a very good group of our colleagues from Tenaris today here. I mean, this investment that we've done was a hard work for many people during 3 years. I mean, this was not possible at all without the right people. No?
You know, and it's just to sort of wrap up here, I just, you know, recently read an article by the McKinsey group entitled, "There's no such thing as a dead-end job." And when you look at the things that you have just spoken to, the support that, you know, you could enter at an entry-level job at Tenaris and you could become the head of a global division. You know, there's amazing opportunities, but that doesn't happen without the investment in your people, diversity, and education, right? It really is something that opens the door for economic empowerment, isn't it? Yeah. Gentlemen, Shellie, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us from Calgary. I'm so glad that we were able to get the technology to work, because you wouldn't have known it, but the whole internet signal dropped 5 minutes before we got started today. So we would have been flying really just like a black and white old movie. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Shellie, for joining us. Thank you, folks. We're just going to have some closing comments here, and we'll get you back to your busy days. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Shellie.
Thanks.
All right. On behalf of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank Ricardo, Shellie, and Dave for joining us this afternoon. Tenaris is an important cornerstone of our community, our economy, and our business community, and they are a valued partner of our Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate that you have taken the time to come and share with us the next steps that Tenaris enters, what we expect to be, an exciting and successful new chapter in its long history. Thank you all. So the last thing on my notes here are insert thoughts from Karen Bird. Real quick thoughts from myself are, I'm first of all thrilled to be working with Karen this year. Not only she talked a lot about being Indigenous, but she's an Indigenous woman as a leader in finance and business, and that is something that we don't run into very often. So we heard a lot about diversity today, and now we have a leader who's, Shellie said, if you can see me, you can be me. Something we want as we look around the room and at our events, we see a lot more diversity coming within our own Chamber of Commerce and in our membership. When you have individuals within your organization, bring them out. We want to meet them. We want them to be a part of our community. We want to have them be introduced to those that are like-minded or that are different or whatever it is that they're looking for, and make them feel that they are a part of our group. So please bring them out. We look forward to a very, very positive year. We have a great new team. We have a great team that is graduating out, and we have a lot of work left to do representing our membership. I look forward to working with Rory and Dawn, and I look forward to learning traditional leadership from Karen, as well as really ingenuitive leadership from Karen as well. Back to my script, we'd like to thank you all for your support during the past year. As our member and the community continue to deal with the challenges brought on by COVID, this was far from the year that any of us expected. One thing that I can say with certainty is that the Chamber, which has been the support and advocate on behalf of the local businesses for 133 years, will be here to support and advocate on behalf of your businesses, no matter what the future throws at us. We are strong together when we stand united as a Chamber, supporting each other and our community. I would once again like to thank the team from Tenaris for joining us. I would like to thank all of our members and all of you for joining us. And on behalf of the Sault Ste. Marie Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and staff, we thank each of you for taking the time to be here. We're grateful for your engagement and your support, and we look forward to thriving with you together in the future. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.